Now we are going to discuss several functions which are assorted within Python from various topics. We're going to discuss about date functions, string format, how do you format print, how do you handle the dates, how do you handle date time. And we're also going to see a little bit of basics of object-oriented programming, OOPS concept. They are known as object-oriented programming. We're also going to discuss about some of the advanced functions like map and filter. We will also see what are regex functions, how can we use regular expressions within Python. So this is not about a particular package. In general, we are talking about multiple topics within this section, multiple assorted topics, which are pretty useful, maybe a little advanced, but it will be useful in some places. Let us get into these topics. First, let us import the packages. We need pandas package, we need datetime package. I'm suppressing all the warnings because later on we may see some warnings, and I'm not interested in looking at the warnings. Errors should be fine when we are debugging it. And we are also going to look at several data sets that will be used in this particular topic. So I'll be importing all the relevant data sets. We may not be using all of them, but let us import all these data sets. All of them are there on this GitHub server. We'll be able to import all of them. So let us import all these data sets. We will start with the first data set, CC usage data. Okay. Credit card usage data. All of us are already familiar with it. If you want to have a look at that data set, you can maybe let's print a sample of this data, maybe 5 records. Let's print the 5 sample records. Credit card usage data. You must be familiar with it. Already we have used it multiple places. Client number, attrition flag, customer age, gender, dependent count, education level, marital status, income category, card category. Yes, we have already used it at multiple places. Otherwise, you can go through it completely. It is not that hard a data set to understand. The variable names are pretty much self-explanatory. For example, if I want to know the average customer age, what will be the code that we will write? We will write the dataset name, which is CC usage, and the column name, which is average customer age dot mean. Mean is a method that we have to write it like that. And I want to store it in, let's say, average underscore age. So average age of the customer is this much. And if you generally want to print it, so print average age. Now, generally, when you are printing like this, it just prints the value. Instead of printing that value, what if I want to print elegantly with a message? Print the average age of the customer, or the average age is, and then comma, whatever is the average age. Now that's the procedure that we have followed until now. The average age is, now whatever message that you want to print, you will write it here and it will print. But we can use a function called format within print. You can use a function called format, and in standard coding practices, we use that function called format very regularly. Let us understand the nitty-gritties of format here. So you can write the same message, print the average age is. Then instead of average age writing it here, you can use parentheses here. Parentheses, curly braces, open and close. And these curly braces are important and they will be very, very useful later on. Dot format, and whatever you want to print here in these curly braces, that variable can be mentioned here. So I want to print average age. So the way you write it is, you write the string dot format. In that string, you are mentioning that curly braces. It's a placeholder. Then you say dot format, and whatever you want to mention here, you just mention that average age. Then it will be printing the same message like this. Though it is printing the same message, but this one, the way we wrote it here, This is very useful. Later on, you can not only print one particular variable, you can print several variables later on. For example, apart from average age, I also want to calculate average credit limit and I want to print that as well. So average credit limit, average credit limit, and then CC usage data, and credit limit is the variable name, dot mean average credit limit. Here you go. Here is the average credit limit. Now, how do I print it? Follow the same structure. You write down whatever you want to mention. Average age is this much. And look at this. Earlier we have to write a print this, and then your again the quotes will start again. You write it one by one. We have to carefully do that. But here you can write it like a simple message. Average age is whatever is that curly braces. You can leave it there, and the average credit limit is again curly braces. And then dot format. Yes, I want to print average age here, comma. Within the format, you have to write the first variable, comma, inside the parenthesis, comma, average credit limit. You have to write it like this. And here is the final message. The average age is this much, average credit limit is this much. Now, I know that you're not really satisfied with this output because there are too many decimals after this particular decimal point. There are too many numbers. We can format that as well. Within this format, there is a much better, elegant way of formatting it. But here, I'm trying to tell you, you can use this parenthesis dot format to print multiple values or your message. In fact, when you're looking at some of the standard code in internet, you may find this type of print being used. If you're not aware of this format, it looks pretty strange when you're looking at it for the first time. If you're not aware of this particular function format, you may be thinking what exactly it is trying to tell us, but it's very simple after knowing it. In fact, there is one more way of formatting. What is it? You can use, like, sometimes you tend to see this kind of thing. Print F instead of format completely, we write F. Okay. And then within the quotes, you can write the average age. You just need to write F within the quotes, the average age. In the curly braces, you can directly mention if you feel this is not that friendly to read. If you want to be absolutely sure, in that you can write average age, in that you can write credit limit. Earlier, if you are using single print function, you have to write a message, comma, and then the variable, comma, message, comma, like that. You have to write it multiple times. But if you use F and within them, you can, like I have seen some of the people are finding this much more user friendly, because wherever you want to print and whichever variable you want to print, you can actually see that. So you can actually read it. The average age is average age and the average credit limit is average credit limit that I want to print. Okay. So this is the format. Pause the video here and try to execute all these commands before you move on to the next command. Let us see one more example. This time we will try to use a different feature of this format. What we will do is we will calculate the average dependence as well. This is the average dependence count. So we have average age, average credit limit, and average dependence. What if by mistake we put a different order? Let's say I want to print the average age, average credit limit, and instead of and average age is this much, the average credit limit is this much, maybe a comma after this, and then and average dependence, average dependence is another parenthesis. Now average age, average credit limit, let's say by mistake I have kept average dependence count here, average dependence, average age, and then average credit limit. If I try to print this, obviously the answer will be wrong. Average age is 2.34. No, it is actually dependence. Average credit limit is 46. Actually, that is average age. Average dependence count is 8361. So we have actually mentioned them in the wrong order here. But still, there is a way to fix it. How can you fix it? Let this order be as it is. No problem. What we can do is in these parentheses, we can mention the index 0, 1, 2. So age is at which position? Age is at the first position. First position means like 0, 1, 2. Credit limit is at the index 2. Dependent count is at index 0. Now, when you print this time you'll get the right answer. Average age is 46, average credit limit is this much, and average dependence count is 2.34. Not only these values, even directly, if values are given there, let's say instead of the actual variables, if you have the values given like this 2.34, 83, 8631, 46, if these are the values and average age is not 2.34, in this case also you can work the same way, in the sense you can mention my average age is in the index 2, my dependent count average age in index 2, credit limit is index 1, and the dependent count is index 0. Now here is the answer: average age, average credit limit, and the dependent count. So you can use these placeholders, their indices. Not only indices, you can use placeholders with names also. Let's say if you're not comfortable with these index values, if you want to give them some names, that is also fine. Let's say if I take the same example, and here this time I want to call this with a name 2.3 2.34, it is the dependents. Okay, dependents count I want to, or let me just name it as depend. That is the first placeholder name. The second placeholder, the one that I want to print, this is the credit limit, C limit, and then the third one is age. Okay, average age. Now if you print it, while printing it you can use an option average age. I have mentioned the placeholder name as age, so you can mention age, and the credit limit is C limit, that's what we have mentioned. Average dependence count is depend. Now this will also print accurately average age, average credit limit, average dependence count. So you can print in multiple ways. The reason why we are discussing this here is there are some places when you are looking at the code samples, when you are looking at some of the documentations, this particular format of print is used, especially within print. If you have so many items to be printed, if you have so many values to be printed, if you want to format them in a particular manner, then this is the best function that you can use, which is format function. And obviously we are not interested in printing such large numbers. There is one more item that is pending, age. You want to print it maybe until one decimal only. Average age, you want to print it until one decimal. So what you can do is you can put this symbol, which is colon 0.1 f. That means it will be printed in this format until one decimal. After the decimal point you will be printing one decimal. Okay, 0.1 f. Credit limit also maybe 0. If I put 0.1 f, it means it is going to print until one decimal point. After the decimal point, it will print one digit. But credit limit, I'm not interested in printing it that way. I want to simply print it as 0.0 f. That means I want to print an integer. Okay, credit limit will be printed as an integer. After the credit limit you have to put a colon. So 0.0 means it will be printed as integer. After the decimal points, 0 digits will be printed. Even the dependence count, maybe I want to print it until one decimal. In that case, you put again a colon 0.1 f. That means until one digit, after decimal point, there will be one digit that will be printed. So your output, you can expect it to be somewhat like 46.3 because one digit here, and 8631 because zero digits after that, and 2.3 because one digit, that's what we have mentioned. So here is the output that you can see 46.3. Let's say here also if I want to print two digits, I'll put two digits after the decimal point. Here are the two digits. Average dependence count, you want to mention only 0 digits. You want to print the integer value, and this is how you'll print it. Not only this, let's say if you do not have these numbers in this one also, let's say if you're not giving any names, let me put it here. If you're not giving any names, if you're directly working with the positions, the way that we have seen here, the average age is in the second position. Even if you're mentioning like this without the actual name, you can use the same format or the same structure of the code. Second index, this is the value placeholder name. This is the placeholder index. Second index must be printed in this format, and the value of the first index, index position 1, should be printed in this format, colon should be given, and then this must be printed in this format. Okay, so you have to give. Now this 0 indicates whatever is the index, and this is related to formatting, and it will work the same way that is shown above. So that is how you can customize the output. Sometimes you may have to show percentage value in the output. For example, we have a variable called average utilization ratio, which is a percentage. Utilization ratio is a percentage value. Let us calculate that. Let's say average utilization, average utilization ratio or percent. How do you print a percentage symbol in the output? Because when you're calculating the percentage value will not be appearing, it will be a decimal value that will appear. So go to CC underscore usage data. In the CC usage data, what's that? In the CC usage data, you have which variable? Average utilization ratio, dot mean. Here you go. This is the average utilization percentage. Now, if you print it directly, how much that will appear as? This is the one. Now, what we want to do is we want to print it like a percentage value. So as usual, what we will do is print whatever is the message that you want to write. The average, the average utilization ratio is, and then you give the brackets. Just give the brackets, parenthesis close starting, and then as usual dot f, which is format, dot format. And what do you want to print? Average utilization percent. This is the initial code that should be printing the average utilization percent. So the average utilization ratio is this much, dot format. Where is the error? Print the format until here. I think we are closing the print here, which should not be done. This is the output. And for format, after that, one more parenthesis. This is the one. The average utilization ratio is this much. Now that must be printed as a percentage. Let's say if you want to print it until 2 decimals, what will be the option? If you want to print it until 2 decimals, you have to put colon 0.2 f, which means until 2 decimals it will be printed. But what if I want to print it like a percentage? Then in that case, instead of f, you put 0.2%. You have to give a percent symbol. If you give the percent symbol, it will be coming as 27.49%. Or if you want to print it until 1 decimal, it will be like this, 27.5%, or after this one. So it is printed in the percentage. This one, let's say until 4 decimal, if you try to print, then you will get the actual number 27.49%. That's how you can print the values. Let us do one quick exercise before we move on to the next topic. So we have seen how do you print using format function. Using format function, using these parentheses, we can reorder the variables. We can use placeholders with the names. We can customize how many decimals it has to be printed. We can print as a percentage as well, and percentage value also can be formatted. Now it's time for us to do a quick lab exercise, string format for custom variables. So take the New York taxi fare data, the New York taxi fare data, that data set we have already imported this data set. Where is that? New York taxi fare data. Take the data set, print the below message using string format. The average taxi fare amount must appear exactly in this manner, and dollar should also appear, and dollar should not be actually coded. It should be coming automatically. Somehow the currency should appear, and the median number of passengers per trip are these many, or the median means average only. If you're not aware of median, you simply take the average number of passengers are x. It has to be an integer. So try to print it in this manner, and try different placeholders, try different methods. Maybe at least try three ways of printing: using index placeholder, using placeholder name, using reorder. Try to use three different types of printing the same value. The percentage of trips, this is another message. The percentage of trips with fare amount is greater than $50 is these many. First of all, you have to calculate these, how many percentage of trips with fare amount is greater than $50, how many are there, and you have to print it in this manner. Try to use two or three different ways of printing the same one. Okay. So try to do this quick lab exercise. Apart from this, there are other assignments as well that you're going to get, but these are the ones that will quickly kind of recap before we move on to the next topic, which is working with dates. So that completes our part one in this particular session.